we start to get a glimpse of what's actually going on with those lineups and how the decks will be panning out.
So let's focus on the picks here. Slysssa picked Hunter, Warlock, and Druid. Druid being the last pick, the weakest of those. Hunter, a first pick. She's very comfortable on that class.
Let's go to Druid versus Paladin. This is what looks to be OTK control Paladin for Gia. And of course, you saw some of that Undertaker Death Rattle shenanigans from the Hunter side on Slyssa's side of the board there. And, you know, something I got to ask, Kibler, is people have been thinking about the Undertaker and mainly Druid, but we're starting to see it in other classes being experimented as well.
Yeah, it's not a card we see a lot in these Death Rattle Hunter decks, but it is a card that can be quite powerful to enable some of your other Death Rattles. For instance, you know, Devil's Egg or Kathrena. Lots of things that can give you a little bit more extra end game. I haven't really seen it used in many high-level competitive decks, but I'm curious to see if it does pay off for Slysssa.
That's right, and I think the name of the game will be how much pressure can they actually set in the mid stages of the game against this Paladin deck, because if you give the Paladin time, they're going to combo you. Yeah,
this Paladin deck that Gia is playing is one that really burst into prominence with the release of Rastakan's Rumble. Previously had some appearances here and there, but the addition of Timeout to this Uther combo deck gives you the ability and the time, aptly, to actually assemble your entire combo and play it out over multiple turns. It's a one-turn combo deck that takes a few turns to set up because you're bouncing your various horsemen from Uther the Ebon Blade to get that apocalypse kill.
Yes, that pun made me shoot out a little bit of air from my nostrils, Killer. Very nicely done. But you're exactly right. Time is of the essence for both these players, as in Slysssa doesn't have that much time, and Gia's got all the world that she can wait for to bounce back those hero powers that you're talking about.
Yeah, this Hunter deck is typically pretty good against control decks because Death Rattle minions in general tend to be very strong against decks that are looking to clear off your board with AoE, like Equality Consecration and such. Slysssa, though, has a pretty slow draw here. She has Undasta, she has Charged Devil Sword. These are great cards late in the game to help you push extra damage, but she needs stuff to develop with, and right now, without a minion on Gia's side of the board, she can't even use her Flanking Strike.
Right, and things like Hunter's Mark, Flanking Strike, these are all reactive plays. I mean, without the Devil's Egg, there's just nothing really proactive to play. And I mean, this is kind of a little bit of the cost and punish of having such a large top end to the deck. There's the Undertaker, there's Undasta. We see some Hunters not even playing that in some of their normal Death Rattle lists. So you can see that Slysssa was specifically trying to build her deck list to try and be a little bit greedier to punish the slower decks. But, you know, she could also use a little bit more meat to the mid game, which is sorely lacking at this point.
Yeah, but it's not like she cut anything in the early game to play these cards. Right. Is the thing. It's you know, she has a little bit less like utility style stuff. But here, Call to Arms, one of the cards that's extremely powerful in this Paladin deck, not only gets you significant board presence, but also thins your deck. So you're able to find your key win conditions like that Uther the Ebon Blade faster than you otherwise would.
How important is things like Deathstalker Rexar in this matchup?
Rexar's still pretty good. You're still playing against a control deck, so the ability to generate a bunch of additional minions is valuable. However, you're not playing against a control deck like Odd Warrior, where what you're doing is just running out of stuff. You need to put enough pressure on them that they don't have the time to set up their full combo.
Well, with 2 bouncers in the hand already, things are looking good for Gia if she can find her Death Knight, Uber of the Ebon Blade. For now, it seems like pretty middling, slow draw here for her as well. The Call to Arms is very nice, though, to pull those small minions out of your deck.
And one of the big powers of Call to Arms, too, is typically you can hit things like Blood Mage Thalnos, you can hit Loot Hoarder, but here, Gia, you know, she only hit minions that actually just had immediate board presence, which are still powerful. You know, here, she's actually able to just use Sunkeeper Terram proactively, and this is one of the interesting things about this deck. You think of it as, oh, this is an OTK combo deck. You're looking to set up to this. Like, well, you just still have powerful Paladin cards in your deck. You can still just go in with a Sunkeeper Terram and push a bunch of damage to your opponent's face if they're going slowly. That's exactly what's happening right here. Yep. You know, we see Gia able to actually just put herself in the driver's seat, and now it's Slysssa who needs to react to this big board from Gia.
You're absolutely right. You know, there's still that Sunkeeper Terram. If you're able to use things like Spike Steeds and other buffs, you have even Lanessa Sunsorrow in the deck, which is pretty cool to see that make an appearance, because people usually thought Lanessa was more of, you know, some Brian Kibler meme quest paladin shenanigans. It's not actually like a card that you would see in regular staple paladin decks outside of maybe experiments and homebrews. So I like to see that a little bit more experimentation, and I'm happy to see Gia include that in her deck list along with a lot of other people.
One interesting thing you sometimes see with decks that do include Lanessa is that even when you are damaged at some point, you'll Flash of Light your own minion, so that Lanessa will cast Flash of Light and draw you a card later in the game.
Exactly. And then, you know, add some other stuff like Potion of Heroism, which I don't think is in the deck list.
And here we see Gia just continues with the minion-based assault. She's just going to go, all right, well, let's just bounce back my Tarim. And this, I think, is excellent recognition of how her deck works, not overall in sort of a macro sense, but in this particular matchup. A lot of cases, people will be like, oh, well, this is part of my combo. I need to save this for later. No, that's not how this matchup plays out. You need to kill your opponent.
Right.
And, you know, yes, you have the option of going that long game Uther plan, try and bounce back and win with the 4 horsemen, but you can also just beat them up before they get something like Rexar online, and that's much more reliable if you have that opportunity.
Yeah, it just so happens, though, to play kind of directly into Slyssa's hand, because she doesn't have anything else really substantial to do besides Rexar, so it ends up being okay for her. But you're absolutely right, and these are also, you know, luxury items that Gia has, because she's playing that copy of Youthful Brewmaster.
Yep.
So with Zul the Gorgon, another copy of Ancient Brewmaster, and a Youthful Brewmaster, she's still going to be okay. So it's not like she's throwing away her ability to win the late stage of the game, if it comes down to that.
And here, you know, she's got to be thinking, okay, well, you know, now I have this Tarim again. I could Hero Power Tarim, continue to push damage. She needs to be concerned that, you know, Slysssa has, frankly, something exactly like what she has with Undasta in hand. You know, if she does just have a small board of minions, if she just commits again to this Tarim, and some huge minion like Undasta brings out, say, King Crush, she's going to want that Tarim again. So I like this. She brought the Tarim back, but isn't just using it again proactively. Once she gets to the stage of the game where there's the threat of big minions coming out from Slysssa, well, she'll want it as a reactive tool.
Oh yeah, some big minions are coming up. Coin Undasta, the new legendary neutral minion that has Rush, and when it overkills, summons another beast from your hand, which, by the way, also has Rush.
Yeah, these are some big beasts coming out on Slyssa's side of the board.
Wow.
And she does, you know, she does still have Rexar and you know, the ability to get even more big beasts, but we know Gia has that Sunkeeper Tarim in hand, so she can answer Undasta immediately and prevent at least any more coming out from that overkill ability.
Right. Which is also another thing to consider, too, is that the synergy between Undasta and Zombeast is also extremely powerful.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to be very careful with that card. Do not let it get out of hand.
All right, the Discover here. Jeweled Macaw got a lot better as far as potentially offering you power tools, because all of the Loa cards, the legendary minions from the new Rostagon's Rumble set, are beasts. So there's a lot of just interesting things added to the pool there. And does take, TJ, the Ravasor run.
People don't understand that. We'll have to explain it on another episode of Omnistone sometime, of why exactly a Ravasor run.
Got this glazed over look.
It's because he looks glazed all the time. TJ, whenever you get to see him off stage, like, you know, very close, face to face, he has bloodshot eyes, and he's like, that's just how he is, because it's like a genetic thing, apparently. And so Ravasor run also looks a little blazed, which is
what's going on?
Why we always say TJ's the Ravasor run.
Just lost here somewhere in Angoro Crater, man.
Yeah. You know, back to the game here. Slysssa, I mean, she's trying to pair together some kind of assault, but not even using her tracking right now, because is it because she doesn't know what she wants to look for yet, or is it because she doesn't want to potentially burn important cards? I
think a big part of it is she doesn't know what she wants. You know, when you have tracking available, you don't necessarily always just want to play it, because sometimes, you know, if your opponent goes a certain way with their turn, you'll want one thing. If they go a different way with their turn, you want something else. Similarly, she does have access to the hero power here from Rexar, which can give her more information about what she may want. For instance, if she finds some sort of powerful Death Rattle minion, does she want to find a play dead? And that's very different than, you know, if she, you know, say finds, you know, just a gigantic minion. And speaking of big minions, that's a fairly substantial Kodo here, who's going to take that out and allow Slysssa to keep pushing damage.
Yep, and no more card draw sources for Gia at this point, and it feels like her hand does some stuff, but not too much. And with that Kodo being presented, almost anything that she puts out can easily be pushed through with that plus the Spider Bomb.
This is one of the weaknesses of the Paladin deck, because Gia does have a lot of controlling tools, but she has, you know, these 2 timeouts. These 2 timeouts are great at buying you time to actually enable your combo, but you need to have the combo pieces first. She doesn't have Uther. Uther is the single most important card for Gia to be able to really get her own proactive plan going. She kind of was on the, I'm going to beat you down with Tarim and such, but once Slysssa got to the point that she could start leveraging her very powerful minions, that plan was over. Gia needed to go back on the defensive, try to find Uther and win that way, and she still hasn't found that Uther of the Ebon Blade.
Yeah, I do like usage of the Spiker's Teeth. It's fairly clunky and hard to get out of your hand, and if you do find Lanessa down the road, you kind of want her to be as strong as possible. Back over to Slysssa land, she is going to try and build together another powerful Zombeast, and another TJ being available to her. he was chuckling like he usually do, which is like, just like sits in the corner and chuckles, but
yeah.
It's
chuckles like a chucklehead.
Okay, he's not Blazed, by the way. For people who think that, you know, he's just covering up like most other people who make that excuses, it's not. Trust me, he has eye drops and everything. It just refuses to go away.
All right, well, Slysssa, she's going to go ahead and cash in the Spider Bomb here. TJ actually just came over to just give us the evil eye just off camera. But going to go ahead and just continue pushing damage, is able to punch through the both halves of the Spike Ridge Steed with her board, and frankly just continue to have a powerful developed board. Zombies TJ does come down, and we'll see what the adapt option is. Divine Shield, so that's actually pretty crucial. That means that just Equality Consecration cannot full clear this board.
Yeah, that's right. And you can just have some minions to stick in case you end up picking up other really powerful beast synergy. The Crackling Razor Maw is always a really good Zombies opportunity to pick up while putting pressure. So how will Gia respond? This is definitely a threatening enough board to justify clearing. It's just how does she want to pair it together? She can even utilize the True Silver Champion in this spot too.
It's gonna, yeah, Equality plus Pyromancer and Consecration here. Yeah, allows her to keep the Pyromancer on the board. She could have just Equality Consecration and tapped the True Silver Champion. This does give her 2 minions of the board, which is, you know, a bit of a stronger proactive position. It does leave her a little bit vulnerable to potentially Candle Shot, where if she needs this Pyromancer later on, but she does still have her second Consecration on hand.
Oh, that's a really good point. It's like the benefit of this play, because it might look a little bit wasteful in terms of a controlling perspective, but remember, like, Gia had opportunities to try and take control of the board and not just pressure the Hunter, but also to fight back on whatever minion gets played preemptively, because True Silver Champion gets way better when you have all these small little minions to help pick up the trades.
Yeah, absolutely. And now Slysssa in the tank over her Zombies decision. Didn't catch what the first one was, but here we have, looks like, ooh, it is a
Nesting Rock.
Just a big one.
It was interesting because Halazi the Lynx was also available, which is something that, you know, whenever I see a really cool new legendary card like that, I always think about the use case of it. But I think the stats are just a little bit underwhelming. Too underwhelming, rather.
Well, one of the big things here for Slysssa is that, you know, she's seen an Equality. She's seen Tarim. Just big minions are now all pretty threatening, because there's only a single Equality remaining in the deck that can really answer any individual large minion, and this Nesting Rock, you know, allows her, in combination with the Candle Shot here, to just punch through even the Spike Ridge Steed. And gonna go digging again with the hero power. Now there's a Skitterer available. Skitterer is always all right. Just gonna go ahead. Yep, with Skitterer plus the Tundra, or rather Timberwolf, not Tundra Wolf. It's Tundra Rhino Timberwolf. There's all the various, you know, climates that these right, exactly. I didn't know that I had to take like ecology to be a hunter. All right, well, apparently. Tracking will find Swamp King Dread Egg and Cube.
Ooh, Cube plus Playdead is
she has a Playdead already in her hand, which makes the Cube extremely powerful, and yet that will be the option that Slysssa does take.
And that is why Slysssa was waiting for things like an opportunity to use that tracking late in the game, even though she's floated mana several turns already.
Well, Shiro was on camera earlier as the champion, drawn here by Gia, and with this is one of the ways that she could potentially try to, you know, take control of this game. She could even use her bounce effects on the Shirvala if she wants to just have additional options to have more removal. But I believe she's at the point where she needs these for her combo.
Yes,
while,
I think so too.
While this is obviously a powerful way to take control of the board, she's really past the point that she could win via attrition, I feel like.
I think you're right, based off the count that we were talking about before. But, I mean, at the same time, too, look at how thin Gia's deck is. There's pretty much Uther, the Ebon Blade, I think, like, another Call to Arms, another Equality, and then that's, like, pretty much that's what's left with a couple of other cards we might not be thinking. Linessa, I think.
Was that a slight miss sequence there from Gia? I don't actually quite recall what life she was at before that, but she ended by attacking with the weapon.
You could be right. I wasn't paying attention very closely, and I hope that's not the difference maker, you know, if anything.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unlikely to be. This isn't the sort of game that really feels like, oh, you're just going to be 2 damage away, right? It feels like if Slysssa does end up winning, it's going to be largely through Gia just not having answers. But as we see, Flash of Light cast on a minion ends up giving her an additional card. But in the double Spike Ridge Seeds here, so this Linessa is a very powerful defensive tool.
Yeah, Gia doesn't have that many cards remaining left in her deck. I'm probably willing to say 5 or less at this point.
And she needs Uther. She obviously, she has every piece she needs. She has the bounce minions, the copy minion in Zola and the Brewmasters. She has 2 copies of Timeout. So if she does find Uther, it could be very difficult for Slysssa to actually stop her from comboing, especially given that she did track away her Swamp King Dread, which is one of the ways that she could potentially try to stop that sort of combo. It's
true. The only problem with that is, you know, you need time as the Paladin to even set it up. So if you get it, say your 30th card, Lord
you could potentially just die to just a fatigue.
Yeah, you're just taking too much damage. You're trying to hero power. You keep getting the wrong horseman time after time. We've seen it happen on the competitive stage as well, so it's not even something that's that rare.
Well, Slysssa is breaking through this Linessa here, picks apart the original body and the steeds that came out, rather the Stegodons that came out.
Yep.
And there's Uther, but is it too late?
Don't think so. There's still some comfortable breathing room because of the 2 timeouts. The timeouts is what's really important here.
The light's justice has failed.
But it's... well, I would also say it's not that bad because Slysssa doesn't have the most impressive board breathing down Gia's deck at the moment.
It is worth noting that Slysssa has no copy of weapon removal in her deck. Part of the way she fit things like the Undertaker, Charged Devilsaur, etc., is not having access to Gluttonous Ooze. So Gia knows that this weapon is here to stay, so she can use that information to plan her turns out and guarantee that she gets some value from the lifesteal. The combination of timeout plus the lifesteal weapon is always pretty nice too, because you can timeout, attack into something, and be guaranteed that you're just getting that life back. But that Flappy Bird... All right, yeah, only 2 cards left in the deck for Gia here. 1 more now, so she's got to start setting up here. And frankly, with that 8/8 Flappy Bird, she is in a position where she doesn't have a ton of time. She has those 2 timeouts and is going to need to use them judiciously here. Her last card, I believe, is the other Equality, if I recall correctly.
Should be right, because we only saw 1 Equality being played.
And I think this is why she's going to go ahead and chop down this cube here. My brain just...
Carnivorous cube.
Carnivorous cube here, right, exactly. It does leave 2 Divine Shield minions, though, which are complicated to remove with Equality Consecration combos.
Yeah. That is one of the downsides of using that like Pyromancer to try and get that extra damage as opposed to True Silver. So it hasn't worked out completely cleanly, but still should be okay for now unless proven otherwise. And then on Slyssa's side, she has to just keep presenting the biggest threat possible without while being able to recover an inevitable Equality Consecration play, because she should have the tracking down to know that's what the last removal tool is. After that, it's pretty much just timeouts.
And I believe the only remaining beasts in her deck are the Witchwood Grizzlies. She's drawn her King Crush now. She's drawn her Devilsaur. So if she did, say, play Kathrena into what she expects to be Equality Consecration, she's only going to end up with a 3-attack minion in play afterwards.
And she did just give up that Divine Shield. When you know that your opponent's going to draw the 30th card, I do think that could be a potential small misstep to miss out on damage, but I don't know if that's going to be the consequence that will determine whether or not Slysssa wins. I think it's going to come down to if Gia can land the appropriate horseman in time.
Yeah,
This is also a demonstration of how important Youthful Brewmaster can be, too, because you can equality, consecrate, and bounce in the same exact turn. Something that you weren't able to do if you only played Ancient Brewmasters.
Yeah, and a lot of people say, well, you have Called Arms in your deck. Why you have a 2-drop that's part of your combo? It's like, well, you have enough of a combo beforehand.
Right.
And no, Gia does not need to time out this turn because she is clearing off the entire board with the exception of just 3 attack. We're going to see what comes out. Oh, there is. Okay, there's only the one. The other one got track and over at some point.
Okay.
So that means there is no minion left on the board after this. The Undertaker.
It's not what you need right now.
Interesting, but there's no beast left. She hasn't actually played an egg either, so the Undertaker has no useful death rattles.
Crackling Razor Maw would be fantastic if Slysssa had an ability to use a minion and hit face right now. And now I think the desperation may be settling in fairly soon because Gia has 2 out of the 4 horsemen and just has to hit 1 more, and she has that timeout to guarantee it. So you gain Katharina's death rattle,
which we saw did nothing.
Spider Bomb.
Spider Bomb's death rattle is not totally irrelevant because I mean it actually kind of is because you can just kill it and get you guys. That's non-duplicate? Okay, well I believe that's all she wrote here. I think we're gonna see timeout here and then Gia's just gonna be able to play Horseman, Hero Power next turn and close this out.
That's right. So there's unless Slysssa had that Swamp King Dread,
right,
like you were talking about, which would be massive in this position.
Yeah.
Something worth considering, you know. Well,
frankly, if she played Swamp King Dead right now, how does Gia win? She can't.
She can't.
If she just played Swamp King Dead right now, the game is over. Granted, she got a cube, which she chose over the Swamp King Dread, and it's not necessarily something she would was planning for. Is we're going to get to this stage of the game where she's literally no cards left and no removal left, but it will be the end coming for Slysssa as Gia has all 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and we see perhaps the saddest animation. This should be so much cooler looking, but it's cool for Gia anyway as she takes game 1 with her OTK Paladin combo deck.
Not the flashiest of animations, but
as available to her. We haven't actually seen just yet, but it is actually a token Druid deck, which is essentially built in the previous vein of Token Druid with just the Nourishes and Wild Growths in their nerfed form.
Yeah, that was a choice that she made the very last round between that and another deck. So she realizes Token Druid, maybe not the best against a bunch of Pyromancer or Consecrations, especially if I'm a turn slower. But you know what does get the job done? Double Mountain Giant.
Oof.
All the way.
Yeah, that is a powerful opening draw from Slysssa here. She has a lot of tools to get that pressure on, and that's what she needs. As we saw in that last game, if the Paladin deck has time to draw through its entire deck, well, it will find the way to end the game. And it just needs time. It just needs timeouts. It just needs the way to actually get every single piece of the puzzle, and then it will just kill you. So Giants coming down early and often are pretty much the best way to stop that from happening.
Doomsayer. Well, do you want a Doomsayer or do you want a better board? Because you can play Vulgar Homunculus just to start getting the damage going a little bit.
Yeah, that's an interesting option here for Slysssa because she did have the possibility of playing Homunculus. This isn't a matchup where you need the spell stones to be upgraded. It's not like you're trying to protect yourself from damaging opponent's damage burst or anything like that. And I kind of think maybe the Vulgar Homunculus would have allowed her to have just a more powerful immediate board presence.
Yeah, you never know if it ends up becoming like the extra damage that you need to push through because your opponent was just at enough life to comfortably feel like they don't have to play timeout or they don't have to heal, etc. But the pressure's still on. This is still a very intimidating board. However, Equality and Pyromancer does exist, so Slysssa has to be careful not to overextend while still being able to thread the needle just enough to pressure Gia to make her pull the trigger.
Yeah, right. There are a lot of matchups where you have double Mountain Giant. You're like, all right, I'm going to Mountain Giant. I'm going to Mountain Giant. I'm just going to smash you. Whereas this is one where, okay, you've got 2 Mountain Giants. You got to be careful. You don't want to put all of your eggs into one basket. But Slysssa decides, all right, I am going to make you have it.
Get it.
But unfortunately for Slysssa, Gia has it.
Zlay was saying it in the beginning of the show. Stick to the fundamentals.
Got a
try
big
to
minion.
power your opponent.
Get him in the face.
This is what your deck does best. So I don't blame Slysssa whatsoever for the logic behind this, and Gia has to be able to demonstrate that she has Equality and Consecration, which requires a coin, or Pyromancer Equality.
Right.
Unfortunately for her, Gia has both, but I don't fault Slysssa for at least thinking this way.
And there definitely are a couple of schools of thought. One is that, okay, well, I want to try to space my minions out so I have the ability to deal with the potential AoE more effectively. Then there's the thought process of, I'm just making them have it. If they don't have it, they're dead. And that's what Slysssa went with here, but unfortunately for her, Gia did have the perfect answer. And now Slysssa has 2 of her most powerful threats neutralized, and Gia is the one on the board.
Slysssa has the perfect answer right back. The Black Knight.
Black Knight, your 1-drop.
Yeah.
This is a matchup where there are a lot of potential threatening taunts thanks to Spikeridge Steed. However, Slysssa already has that Spellbreaker in her hand, so there's at least some incentive to potentially just use her Black Knight on just the 1/1.
Yeah, it's the only reason why I'm not 100% sold on being able to develop 4 health minions because of True Silver Champion. And then you're coming up on a turn where your opponent wants to Spikeridge Steed. So maybe that's something that Slysssa was even thinking about. Maybe she's like saying, instead of removing the board, bait them into using the Steed and then silence afterwards.
I think that's a reasonable option because there was no way for Gia to effectively remove her entire board here. But now things start to get a little bit messy in terms of the use of Slyssa's resources here into this board. She does, as you mentioned, have the Black Knight. She could just use that to try and push some damage, but that still exposes her minions to this True Silver Champion.
Well, so when I'm looking at Slyssa's hand, I'm thinking about the big picture, which is the only thing that tells me about a late game plan for Slyssa's hand is specifically the Blood River Gul'dan.
Right.
So how do we get the most amount of damage so that way all I have to do is play Blood River Gul'dan and maybe just Hero Power Hellfire to close the game? I like pushing damage.
Yes, I agree. This is a tough matchup to win by just trying to connect damage to face because of stuff like Uther, stuff like Shirvala that can give you these big bursts of healing. So, you do often need to connect multiple times with minions. And a lot of what you're trying to do is make your opponent use their resources removal-wise in positions where it's inefficient for them. For instance, one of the things about the early stage of this game with the double giant, it's like Slysssa had a few other things she could have played instead of the giant and still had giant as a bigger threat later.
It's true.
Which, yes, she put Gia sort of to the test, but she could have still developed more on the board and still had giant for a follow-up because the first giant already demands an equality. But here, Gia now has control of the board with this Tarim into a couple of recruits, which does clear off Slyssa's board entirely. And now, this could be another opportunity where Black Knight could have been powerful, but she did choose to use that on the Righteous Protector and try and push the tempo.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, she got the damage for it, so... A Hellfire Spellstone, so no development on Slyssa's side, just reacting to the Paladin.
One of the crucial things here, too, is that Slysssa does have Blood River Gul'dan, but she hasn't actually played much of the way of meaningful demons. She's only played a Vulgar Homunculus. She has not played Dread Infernal. She has not played a Hooked Reaver. So while Blood River Gul'dan is obviously an extremely potent tool to get her a powerful hero power, it doesn't actually build her a board like it often will do. And now, speaking of building a board, Call to Arms gets Gia further into her deck and now puts Slysssa a little bit more on the back foot.
Yeah, and that Call to Arms draw super important for Gia just to not draw that. She wants to be able to hit Uther the Ebon Blade as soon as next turn. She wants to be able to start gathering her resources, considering that she had 2 bounce effects already with Ancient Brewmaster and Youthful Brewmaster. And then you also factor in that because she had Youthful Brewmaster, which is her only copy in the deck, she couldn't get it off a Call to Arms, which is just another added benefit of having it drawn at the top.
Shields up.
Yeah, and now Slysssa kind of playing some inefficient bodies here. Second equality drawn for Gia, so she does have a insurance policy with both Consecrations already in hand. if Slysssa does build up a big board. But now we're kind of seeing a situation pretty similar to what we saw in the last game, where Gia is mostly just trying to play control, bide her time until she does find that Uther the Ebon Blade, so she can get into the position of closing the game out.
Yeah, and I think this is like a forced pivot from Slyssa's side, because she didn't get a chance to really play many demons, and now she feels like her best minion possible is getting Greymane, but if she plays Blade River Gul'dan, it's just going to summon one single 2/4 taunt.
This is a key moment from Gia here, choosing not to attack with the Wild Pyromancer. If she did, Slysssa would be able to hero power into a 7/7 Hooked Reaver.
Yep.
Instead, Slysssa, if she wants to get a Hooked Reaver down, it's just a 4/4. It's not very powerful. And being able to play the Hooked Reavers prior to Gul'dan is part of what makes that Gul'dan powerful, because you actually get down the board development of a bunch of demons as well. And if she's just forced to play Hooked Reaver as a 4/4 here because she's not low enough in life, that's a pretty big disadvantage.
Yep. Slysssa doesn't have that Dread Infernal or the Defile for a very nice clean clear. And, because she hasn't had that ability to invest into a demon pool, or rather she doesn't have that much, even if she wanted to, because Hooked Reaver would have come as a 4/4. Blade River Gul'dan is not powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it's awkward. Gul'dan is obviously...
Oh my goodness!
That was probably the best draw Slysssa could have found here, because not only does it clear the board, but upgrades her Spellstone, gets her life low enough to tap Hooked Reaver next turn, and makes that Gul'dan that much more powerful. But Gia also finds her best draw in her deck, which is this Uther the Ebon Blade. And this is interesting, too, because Slysssa has the Acidic Swamp Ooze in her hand, and she has... this is something that obviously Gia is aware of. She's just going to go ahead and send this damage to the face. She knows that Slysssa is in range to Hooked Reaver anyway, and she knows there's an ooze in the deck.
Right.
So she wants to at least put Slysssa in a little bit of an awkward position. Can't necessarily make the most efficient use of everything this turn.
Big swing turns coming in here, Killer. Look at this Bone Mare going in for 10! And now Gia has to clear this board. Otherwise, she's dead, but then she can start building up. And again, the Youthful Brewmaster coming in clutch as an inclusion, one of them.
Yeah, the Equality Consecration. Now this does clear off the board, but as you mentioned, still 4-mana available, and that is Brewmaster Bounce.
Yeah, actually, I'm even curious as to if you anticipate your opponent going to use an Equality Clear, do you still even want to just go for the Bone Mare versus, say, the Hooked Reaver?
Yeah, I actually think that Hooked Reaver may have been the more optimal play for Slysssa there, because it does set up a more powerful Gul'dan and leave Bone Mare as a potential burst tool later on.
Right. Slysssa is hovering over even the life tap. Wants more demons, gets more demons. I gotta say, though, this is a little scary, because if your opponent has some ability to push past this again, they almost could borderline kill you, too. You're at 8 life, and you might be taking 2 more if you play that Vulgar Homunculus.
Well, if you play Vulgar Homunculus, you at least have 2 taunts in the way, but there is the threat of, the Spikeridge Steed, True Silver Champion, Shirvala kill you if you don't play another taunt here.
Well, Shirvala costs 6.
Right, but if you play Spikeridge Steed, Shirvala costs 0.
You're right.
And then you play True Silver Champion, and you just push lethal damage. So
you're completely right. Because then it becomes 6 life, and then the True Silver and the Lethal Master should be able to push through. You're right. So Slysssa, does she choose to gain life in this spot instead of playing a demon?
She goes to 6, so she's still safe, even if there is the Steed. I don't know what is left for Cult Arms specifically here, but...
Loot Hoarders? No Loot Hoarders were pulled in the first...
I think that's correct. So this is an opportunity for Gia to cast Cult Arms if she wants, but she can also, if she's not actually at threat of dying, there's not very much burst left for Slysssa here. There's not that much burst in the deck, period. But yeah, she's going to go ahead and just take out this Hooked Reaver here. Does put herself down to 14, and this has got to be a sign to Slysssa that, okay, well now it's finally time to Gul'dan, because now I have a bunch of dead demons.
Yeah. And I don't even know if it's worth acknowledging that Ancient Brewmaster. Just go to town and try to pressure as much as you can, even with that 2 damage.
There's a Spiker Steed. So now with these taunts in the way, Shirvala is not lethal. Shirvala obviously can't go face, but could push through one of the taunts and then push the Brewmaster for lethal. But there are 2 taunts now.
Yeah, it's 7 damage I can get through.
no peace.
That is another non-duplicate, right?
Yeah, but she didn't even have a way to bounce.
She has no bounce. But this does at least set up a position where Slysssa is committed to killing this, or else she runs the risk of losing the game.
Yeah, and that's something that I feel like Gia did a really good job towing the line of, like, you know, I am a slower deck, but I also can put pressure onto the opponent.
Oh, no, it is a duplicate. It's the Mograine that she already has.
Yes, great. And something also that players also want to keep track of, too.
Right.
Sometimes you lose track of which horseman it is, and then you're like, oh, I have to play because they might have... I have to remove this minion, but in the reality, she could ignore that minion, assuming that she has to. You know, you want to remove it because then they still have a chance of increasing their horsemen that they do want.
Yeah, and that's something that you know is just added to the number of things that you need to be paying attention to when you're playing an event like this. And you know, these players don't have access to deck trackers and such. You see them taking notes and making sure that they have every important detail available to them.
She ignores it.
Yeah, and this is potentially important because it does mean that Gia has an opportunity to increase her chances of getting one of the ones that can be potentially lethal.
Okay, but there is... there's a very good outcome here for Gia. If she lands the right horseman, she does. And now she has to be aware if she's going to potentially die if she ignores this. Because if she plays the Ancient Brewmaster, she is committed to winning the next turn. But there's 8 power staring on the other side with 3 in the hero power.
Yeah, this is a really interesting spot for Gia because she's only I don't believe she's seen a Hellfire yet. So there's a possibility if she just bounces this with Brewmaster and there's double Hellfire available to Slysssa that she just loses the game in the spot. So there's just double Hellfire phase.
No, she did see a Hellfire. Didn't she Hellfire and Spellstone that one turn?
Oh, you are right. Yeah, I think you are right, actually. I've not been the one taking notes here. The players are. But if Gia is aware of that, you know, there's no Lich King card. There's no second Hellfire. There's no way she dies next turn.
That's right. She recognizes it just to make sure that, you know, Bone Mare and Hellfire already been used. No other potential damage, at least as far as she knows. And I think that should close it out unless there's a way that we're not thinking about.
No, there's just the 11 damage on the board, the 3 damage from the hero power, and then Hellfire available. That's 14. 1 damage off lethal.
Yeah.
That is not going to do it.
1 damage off lethal. Remember, Kibler, we're talking about Doomsayer on 2 versus the Vulgar Homunculus, and we're saying, what if that damage matters?
Yeah.
And it did.
And we see here, you know, it is just time once again for the apocalypse. Here they come, all 4 horsemen, and the dramatic animation coming down as Gia takes a 2-game lead over Slysssa.
5 horsemen of the apocalypse, Kibler. With some extra flair in there. That's going to do it for game number 2. Slysssa is down to her last deck, and it is Token Druid, a nerfed Token Druid, missing an ACL or 2. Can she do it? Yeah,
this is a tough matchup because there's a lot of AoE available to Gia, and frankly, the timeouts are huge in this matchup. Even prior to the nerf, I played it, and it was
hey,
5
that's how you know she's
victory.
A caster. We're on the same wavelength.
Exactly.
All right, let's go, Gia. She's going to be 1 game away from going to her 3-0 sweep and selecting that
finish. But actually, we apparently had things incorrect. It was actually not the Druid deck.
Yeah, looks like we looked at the graphic incorrectly there, or perhaps we updated it wrong. The Priest, Dragon Control Priest.
Okay, well that
explains a lot.
It does. It is a different narrative than we were going for just a moment ago, but I do think this is still a tough matchup for Slysssa because she is playing a deck that is largely built around 2 things. 1, board dominance with your Dustbreakers, your sort of mid-range minions. You're playing a deck of the Quality Consecration, so that's tough for you to actually get going. 2, you're playing a deck that is built around the potential for burst damage. You're playing a deck that has a bunch of healing and Uther of the Ebon Blade and timeout. So a lot of what this deck tries to do is set up for a burst kill in the end game, and that's a lot tougher to actually get off when your opponent can just block any form of damage with timeout and gain life with the Uther weapon or with Flash of Light, etc.
This makes a lot more sense why, you know, Slysssa felt like she needed to queue up some other decks before this, because Token Druid against Death Knight Paladin or TK Death Knight Paladin was actually very favored for the token druid for a long time. I was just always wondering, like, oh, is it the nerf that makes her uncertain about that? But if it was not even available for the series, it makes sense why she, she felt uncomfortable playing Dragon Control Slow Priest against this.
Druid got so nerfed that now they play Priest cards.
Mind if I roll
It's actually always funny playing.
I wish us, the Priest players were that lucky to get Druid cards.
It's always so funny to me when you're playing like a deck like Priest. You used to always love to play against Druids with like Thoughtsteal and stuff because all their cards are just so good. It's like, oh yes, I stole a Nourish, I stole a Swipe. This is awesome. You play against like Rogue, you're like, I got a Deadly Poison. I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's just play a new game.
Yeah, maybe that's what's missing from Priest decks, non-Priest cards.
But I do like, getting back into the actual game, this play from Slysssa here, just playing out her Wild Pyromancer, recognizing that she needs the pressure. She does not have the luxury of what Priest often tries to do. When we've seen her playing this deck before, it's been against aggressive decks. She's been going up against even Paladin, even Shaman. And in those matchups, as the Priest, you just want to make the game go long. In this matchup, though, that's not really what you're looking for. And speaking of not what you're looking for, Gia finds 3 kind of mediocre minions here off of her Call to Arms. She wanted to find card draw. Instead, she found a combo piece and, frankly, another combo piece in the Wild Pyromancer, which is not going to be good for her with Slysssa having the ability to fight through this quite well.
Yeah, now you get to see the opposite side of the deck building. Like before, Gia had the ability to have a Youthful Brewmaster to squeeze in efficient bounces, which ended up being pretty crucial for her victories.
Right.
Now you get to see why a lot of people were even questioning why we should put Youthful Brewmaster in these decks specifically for this kind of
And look at this. Slysssa has Coin, Divine Hymn, kill all of your guys, draw 3.
Wow. Super powerful.
And
maybe even more with the Witch Doctor. Or another Twilight Drake, perhaps. Another card could be drawn, too, should Slysssa choose to hero power one of her minions. And this is also a significant amount of pressure, too, to consider.
I mean, this is a lot of pressure. She's out of 14.
And she can discover, like, a Mind Blast. Then she will just have lethal with a Twilight Drake surviving plus the damage.
Yeah, we were saying that this is, a matchup that can be difficult for the Priest to win, but with a draw like this from Slysssa, and again, the recognition of, I need to play aggressive, interesting.
Okay, she doesn't want to overdraw. She's really afraid of, like, losing. Like, if Paladin can stabilize and then she overdraws Shadow Reaper Anduin, I think in her mind she loses on the spot.
Yeah, there's no reason to run the risk of overdrawing here just by hero powering. You're just putting yourself in a position where you guaranteed an overdraw. I like the Witch Doctor coming down there though, because you do put yourself in a position where you have just more information about what you're potentially going to pick up. Though it does give her the ability to just fire off and get the minion down next turn. She expects the only way I lose is a Quality Consecration here.
Right.
She might as well get the 2/2 body next turn too. There's definitely the argument there.
Yeah, I was looking to see if there are any other specific cards that she'd be super afraid of burning, but I pretty much think it's Shadow Reaper Anduin. Everything else is just not as important. Now she picks up Shadow Visions, which can help her climb closer to that goal that we're talking about of Mind Blasting for the win. So how does Slysssa choose to divide up her mana resources this turn?
This is kind of an awkward spot because she doesn't have another Twilight Drake, for instance. She can't play a big threat and then play the Witch Doctor. I think that there's even an argument to just play Duskbreaker into Witch Doctor here because you get the most damage on the board and potentially set yourself up to find that Mind Blast and end the game. But Slysssa decides to go with the Scorcher. I can see the sort of motivation here of, well, I don't want to use my Duskbreaker without killing minions. I don't want to necessarily commit more than I have to. But I think that I would have liked just keeping the pressure on because the longer this game goes, the worse it is for Slysssa. Because I mean, look at the hand right now. She has timeout, Uther. So she can create, if she has the time, the window to get to at least the lifesteal of that weapon.
Exactly.
So I feel like you want to do as much as you can to narrow that window, but Gia just goes ahead and hero power. She recognizes there's no way I die here. And Slysssa, is going to be able to even just going back to that last turn, if she had 5 power in play here, 2 Mind Blast is lethal. And Gia does not have the luxury of just making this play, potentially. She may have to play a timeout. She may have to use a resource, but now without that threat, there's no need for Gia to commit anything else.
She had multiple chances too. Like this could, the Witch Doctor getting the other Mind Blast, not as likely, but Shadow Vision's number 2, or to get the Mind Blast number 2.
Exactly, actually a fairly high chance. And she has the mana. She doesn't have the mana to Visions, but here, Shadow Madness holding over. I kind of like Shadow Madness as an answer to a potential Spike Ridge Steed. Yeah, and Slysssa agrees. She's going to go ahead and take that. Pushes Gia down to just 11. There is equality, but no consecration. No wild pyromancer available to Gia here, so she can't clear this board. She does have timeout, and I think that we may see it.
Yeah, it has to come down, and this is what you want to do. Force timeout in a position where they're not setting up for anything, because they don't have Uther, they have a blade up. And even if they did, you could position yourself to win anyways, because you're coming up on turn 8, so if you are able to set up a really powerful board, like you can steal their with the Cabal Shot Priest.
Right. Yeah, and I think that what we're going to see pretty clearly here is that Blood Mage Thalnos going to get taken away. Going to go digging with the Shadow Visions. Finds another Shadow Visions, which, yeah, I think we'll see as a attempt to dig for that Mind Blast, finish the game off.
Right, and I think that's most likely the scenario because Divine Hymn has already been used, correct? So there's pretty much just Shadow Visions, Mind Blast, Power Shield, and Psychic Scream. So you can just always keep rolling for that Mind Blast.
All right, Gia has Uther here, so she's going to go up to 16, can swing the weapon.
Go up to 21.
Well, she takes 4.
Sorry. So that's with the time.
Yeah. She goes up to 17 here, and there is 8, 9 on the board. So a second Mind Blast from Shadow Visions would just be lethal.
Plus a spell damage from.
Yeah, there is a spell damage from Thalnos. So she actually has the ability to because she could potentially hit another Visions as well, and that's what she does. She hits another Visions, and does she find?
Wait, really?
Another
How does this keep happening?
Wow.
There's only 4 spells in the deck.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no lethal.
Now she
here.
can.
No, yeah, she doesn't have enough mana to actually end the game right now, and this is huge. She finds the Mind Blast, but she's a mana off. And now she gets Slysssa can push this damage, but Gia has timeout plus the weapon swing, so she can go guaranteed up to 13 and can't be killed the next turn.
I actually. I kind of like throwing a Mind Blast out because it does 6 instead of 5, and that's what it does. More damage.
I think it's reasonable to just Mind Blast here.
Right.
It's not like your opponent is going to go up to full. They're not going to Alex Strauss themselves or something.
Right. Their heal will be the same before or after.
Right.
So you might as well toss it in. I like it.
I do think that you want to use the Mind Blast that wasn't Visions for, so you don't give away that much information. That's just a general rule of thumb, but not hugely important.
Yeah, but as much as Slysssa missed an opportunity, the reality is she's still in full control unless Gia can clear the board. Right now, her best option is timeout, and she doesn't have enough time.
Well, this timeout does enable Shirvala for next turn 2, which is another big burst of healing as well.
Okay, you're right.
So there's 2 swings of the Uther weapon. She's going to go ahead and take out the Blood Mage Thalnos because that does represent potentially more damage over turns. I think she feels like maybe it does also, first an overdraw as well. I do want to point out, by the way, that Slysssa was just 2 damage off lethal there, and she could have played that Fire Tree Witch Doctor and the Dustbreaker in the turn we were talking about earlier, which may end up making the difference in this game.
Yep. I don't disagree. I was very much on the Dustbreaker for no value plan, because what are you really saving Dustbreaker for in a matchup like this? Your opponent has Cult Arms, and that's it. I guess you could justify the anti-Terran play, but you only need 1 for that. Plus, you have so many other ways to remove.
Oh my God, Kangor!
What? That's a huge draw in this position.
Kangor plus Shirvala is 14 life gained. She could even equality Kangor, Shirvala, clear almost this entire board. She can leave just a single 3-1 up and gain 14, 20. She can go to full. Well, she not quite, I think, after attacking to a minion, but that is such a huge swing here.
Right, and Shirvala's still going to stay on the board, too. No quality play.
She's not going to. Okay, she's going to tear him here. She's not going to Shirvala.
No rest.
This does mean she goes up to 14.
Is she dead because of the Shadow Madness?
That may actually put her at lethal damage. She's not playing around Shadow Madness because Shadow Madness isn't the card in the deck. but I do believe that this does give Slysssa lethal. Slysssa, I think, is looking through this, but yeah, there is Shadow Madness plus Mind Blast. I mean, and this is something that, there's, from Gia's perspective, there's no card that would be in Slyssa's deck in this position that would actually kill her, and I think maybe she's saving Shirvala for later, but Shirvala is such a powerful tool to use alongside Kangor at the same time, too.
I don't understand. Wait, so Shadow forget they didn't change Shadow Madness, right? You can attack the face.
You can. And I think that Slysssa, I think
it's
Slysssa
not like Rush, right?
No, it is still just, it gives it the ability to attack right away. I think Slysssa may not quite be identifying that.
I mean, her hand's full, so you have to bet.
Yeah.
She's running out of time.
She is. What is she looking for here? Psychic.
No!
Oh no, Slysssa. She didn't see it. She had that Shadow Madness. Shadow Madness plus the Mind Blast would just have ended the game.
No peace, no rest.
The duplicate Darien coming down. And now, Gia, she has 2 of the 4 horsemen in hand.
Oh my gosh. This could be
A
one
second
of the biggest
Mind Blast. I think Slysssa, we just saw her sort of head go into her hands. I think she may have realized. Now she's, again, 2 damage off lethal. She has the Shadow Madness again that is with these Mind Blasts, and I think...
All right, well, let's focus on what we can do in this position. So with her current card, she can still build up a reasonable board. She definitely has learned her lesson, I think, of clearing off other horsemen. But now Gia only needs 1 more turn of safety plus a bounce, and that's it.
Flash of Light's going to get her further out of range of this damage, and again, Shirvala is there, further out of range.
The time has
Okay,
come.
no use of Flash of Light. I think this is Gia recognizing that she might need to use this on her own.
She is saving Flash of Light for potentially an Alexstrasza.
Right, post Alexstrasza is going to be important. But now Shirvala's on the board, and Slyssa's getting further and further away. And she doesn't have Shadow Reaper Anduin. I think, should she had the Death Knight, things were still very manageable.
This is Twilight Acolyte plus Cabal Shadow.
Classic.
Which, in another world, in another matchup, could be fantastically powerful because, oh, now I have your life-stealing tool. But Gia, she is not trying to win the game via damage. She is trying to win the game via combo, and she is not far from it.
Yeah.
Healing back up to 25, find Consecration.
And she might be able to, in her mind, stick another horseman on the board to potentially win. And if Slysssa gets careless and just develops completely onto the board, this could also be the end of the game. But that Consecration was a massive pickup for her right now. Okay, it's a duplicate.
Well, there are these Dusk Breakers remaining in Slyssa's hand. She can clear off this Horseman, even if it is not itself a threat. Yeah. But again, we mentioned the Horseman potentially increasing her chances of getting non-duplicates is a problem for Slysssa here.
Yeah, and she can still build a reasonable board. Dustbreaker and the Twilight Drake, like how we're talking about, is okay, but the reason why it's all fine is because Alexstrasza doesn't matter what life you are above 15. So if you Alexstrasza and push for 7, you still have that double Mind Blast range afterwards. So Slysssa, this is still a very winnable game, and that's purely because of the pressure she put on. That is an aggressive Alexstrasza, and I actually like that better.
Yeah, absolutely. Just get that in there now. Gia, I believe, has used both copies of Equality. So, the ability to deal with this Alexstrasza is quite limited. And I don't think she's cast Spike Ridge Steed either, so I think that this Linessa is not functional as a defensive tool. So I think Slysssa may be in a position where she's just going to win this game.
Is there another Righteous Protector out? It doesn't matter, because there's Shadow,
right, there's
Shadow Madness. Kangor. Oh, the Kangor heal.
All right, well, Kangor with True Silver does gain 4, puts it at 19. That is actually 1 damage off lethal with the double Mind Blast, too.
No, not with the Shadow Vision. The Shadow Madness.
With the Shadow Madness, though.
Shadow Madness as the one
That's
attack.
True, yeah, it's true.
If she spots it.
I think she may have had the time to put this one together now.
This is a second opportunity.
Yeah.
I think she spots it
And there's
now.
the Shadow Madness. It took a little bit longer than she may have needed, but double Mind Blast finally does finish off the game. We see Slysssa sort of putting her face in her hand. That's like the Captain Picard facepalm there, but she gets the job done and stays alive in this match against Gia.
Yeah, and she takes off her headset to immediately reset her brain. And, you know, we've all been in that seat, but when you have tens of thousands of fans watching around the WSOE for the 2019. Let's go into game number 4. Now, this is a Priest mirror, but, you know, let's just take it one notch higher. Instead of a 4-turn setup for Horseman, why not just get it all done in one go? This is OTK Quest Topsy-Turvy Priest.
Are you ready for some overkill? Yeah, we have seen.
We've also seen some, you know,
underkill.
Huge mislethals.
Yeah, so this deck that Gia is playing, if you're not familiar with it, is Topsy-Turvy Priest. It essentially can do infinite damage by repeatedly casting Divine Spirit Topsy-Turvy on a test subject, then copying that test subject with Vivid Nightmare, and then eventually attacking with enormous Stone Tusk Spores that you pile all these Divine Spirits on as well. So that does mean, once again, Slyssa's in a position where she needs to be the one who is working to end the game, because Gia has the ability to just come and kill her in a single turn out of nowhere.
Is someone injured?
Yep, precisely. And now Slysssa will be able to draw 2 cards compared to the one of Gia. Gia was hoping that to break even with the draw on both sides. And now Slysssa will get closer to her Shadow Reaper Anduin, or maybe just regular pressure. We saw the Twilight Drake was still a meaty enough minion to help put significant pressure along with the Dragon Maws. And now Gia is desperate enough to start using Power Word Shield on her opponent's minion, because what doesn't really matter, honestly, is her opponent drawing. It really matters if she's going to die or if she's going to combo.
Yeah, this is one of the problems with Topsy Priest sometimes is it can be a little bit inconsistent, as we do see Gia with a hand of double Topsy-Turvy here, Vivid Nightmare. These are all combo pieces she wants at the end of the game. She'd much rather have her Death Rattle minions to help round her draw and get her cycling through her deck.
Yeah.
This deck uses the Loot Hoarders as well as Blood Mage Thalnos and Dead Ringers to actually draw through its entire deck, and also set up Amara. One of the big things that this deck has available is the Quest, which we see in play there. That makes burst damaging them down that much harder.
I mean, I would agree with you. Had Gia drawn a single Death Rattle minion prior to this test subject off the Witchwood Piper, outside of that, it's just a missing card from your deck.
It's true, yeah. And well, now, you know, given that she only has the one Death Rattle minion, her Twilight's Calls become much less powerful, and she drew a test subject off of the Piper, which I guess is the only other option rather than a boar. So it wasn't like a Dead Ring or something like that. But it does leave her in a position where, you know, now she is still kind of sitting here stranded with the Twilight's Call only for 1. Spirit Lash, not really a great draw either. She is at 1 turn away from being able to coin out Psychic Scream, so she can clear off Slyssa's board entirely there. Is she just going to pull the trigger and Twilight's Call a single minion?
Yeah, there's the Blood Mage Thanos, and that's about it.
Yeah, going to go ahead and cycle through that.
Put off as much pressure. And there's going to be a very real break point where it doesn't matter how much Slysssa draws, but she's also going to have a full hand, so she has to budget her heal accordingly. And she has to now make a decision if she wants to put maximum pressure on, or does she want to simply draw cards. And I like maximum pressure.
Yeah, this is a matchup where you need to, like I said, end the game. You are the one as the Dragon Priest who needs to force the issue and kill the combo priest before they're able to assemble everything that they need.
Yeah, it looks weird to destroy your own Northshire Cleric, which is just one of the best cards in the priest arsenal. But you know, that's not really important. Plus, you still have that Northshire Cleric number 2, which can draw cards if you really need.
This is one of the uses of Test Subject here. You can just go ahead and Powered Shield, Topsy-Turvy to just cycle through. All right, well, I got my Powered Shield and Topsy-Turvy back.
So you can Power Shield again. And then you set it for the Psychic Scream the following turn. Things are actually looking okay for Slysssa at the moment, or sorry, for Gia at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, she's still at 25. She's not really at threat of dying unless Slyssa's able to get to the point where she has a big board and can hit with Alexstrasza and force that damage through, and Gia has not yet set up enough Death Rattles in order to actually complete her quest. That is really the danger zone for Gia.
Gia picks a Loot Hoarder, and that while that looks good, she doesn't want to throw it into a Cabal Shadow Priest, which has kind of been a big heavy lifter card for Slysssa deck so far.
Yeah, Slysssa has had a lot of success stealing those minions with Cabal Shadow Priest, and Gia recognizes that and does not want to get her card draw stolen away. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gia pair that Loot Hoarder with even Spirit Lash, just to get the card draw immediately.
Yes, and also something that's you know, might be on people's minds, like why hasn't Gia had the opportunity just like tossing the Shadow Visions? Because she doesn't know what combo piece that she wants right now. She might be missing a you know, another Vivid Nightmare that she needs with the 1 Radiant Elemental, or you know, she also and she also misses out the opportunity to heal herself, which is a big thing.
There is a second Vivid Nightmare. So a couple of options for Gia here. She could just pull the trigger on Psychic Scream. This does slow Slysssa down the greatest amount. And worth noting, there aren't all that many individual threatening minions in Slyssa's deck. It's not like if you Psychic Scream now, she's going to play Lich King next turn. You know, the most threatening thing she's going to play is like 2 Twilight Drakes. And you can be in a position where, you know, you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to make you get all that board presence back. In fact, there's many situations where they can't do it. They're just, you know, looking at Slyssa's hand here. It's like, at best, she can play Duskbreaker into Twilight, or rather Fire Tree, in order to actually get some amount of pressure on the board.
Yeah, it's the same exact situation as before. She could put 4 power on the board with the Primordial Drake, or she could put 5. She discovers another Shadow Visions.
I actually think that, so what, I don't like this from Slysssa, these immediate picks. I think it's too obvious what's happening.
I don't know if it matters, Brian Kibler.
It may not. That's 4 Mind Blasts.
What?
But you know, that's actually something that when you're playing at the highest level, you need to be very aware of. Is okay, you know, am I giving away too much information by the fact that I'm snap picking with my Shadow Visions? And now we're going to see the Spirit Lash here, because that's the only way GS does stay alive against 4 Mind Blast, and it guarantees that neither of her card draw minions are going to be stolen by a Cabal Shadow Priest.
I'd like a Vivid Nightmare as well too. It's additional health, which I think Gia recognizes is important.
It also means that by doing this, she gets the 6th minion in play, guaranteed the 7th from the Dead Rover too.
She needs to draw the combo now because Alex draws up in push.
Well, no, because there's the. Oh wait, there's.
Alex draws it down to 15 plus the attack means that she's guaranteed.
Well, but she's guaranteed Amara next turn.
Oh, you are right. You are right.
So Alex draws the next turn, just plays immediately into Gia gaining 40 life.
Well, assuming.
Rather going up to 40 life.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, that draw from Slysssa there is pretty big, because that means that Slysssa can play the Anduin to threaten lethal, even outside of the Amara, rather, and then can answer with the Alexstrasza against the 40 life.
I don't know. Like this Topsy-Turvy Priest doesn't heal very well. So if you want to set your opponent to a bad scenario, I still like the Alexstrasza play.
One thing that's actually interesting here too, though, her 7th Death Rattle minion is the test subject. So that's her 2nd test subject. So she can't just play that and you know, like run the risk of having it die. Yeah, I do like this from Slysssa here, though. She does play the Anduin. This means that, okay, well, if you do Amara next turn, I get to answer with Alexstrasza.
Oh, Twilight Skull.
That does allow her to play the Amara without having to commit test subject, but it also means that the Alexstrasza from Slysssa is going to be able to answer and then potentially just guarantee lethal the following turn with 4 Mind Blasts.
However, if Gia picks up the Stone Toe Spore, that is theoretically the game. Now we've called that before, but and now I think Gia recognizes that if she gets another Vivid Nightmare, that's the only card she needs. Oh, she already has used a 2nd one.
What?
So she needs a 2nd Radiant Elemental now. What was she looking for?
I think she may have forgotten what was in her deck. I think she may have been looking for another Vivid Nightmare, but forgot she'd drawn both of them, perhaps, because... Oh, dear.
I think she's looking for the 2nd Vivid Nightmare, realized that she used her 2nd copy, and that is a disaster. She is dead.
Well, she is. Yeah, this is just the end here. She can Psychic Scream this away, but 4 Mind Blasts, and that hero power is 22 damage. Slysssa is going to end this game right now, as Gia is going to be going to her final deck for this final game as it comes down to game number 5.
I think Gia's like surprised. Why are you starting off with Mind Blast? What's the hero power before it?
Oh dear, that's a lot of damage.
That's exact lethal. No overkill needed. Slyssa's going to tie this up. We're going to game number 5.
This is not something that we were really expecting, I think, going into that game. That was another situation where Slysssa needed to fight an uphill battle, but she was able to do it.
Yes, and this time around, it was Gia that needed...
Ali Slysssa has again gotten her into a great position here.
Right.
This is not a good matchup for Gia. This is a matchup that can be very tough because as the analyst said, the Death Knights can have a huge impact, but also there's just a lot of mid-range bodies in the priest deck that match up pretty well against the mage's ability to answer minions. It has polymorphs, it has voodoo dolls, it has meteors, but those don't necessarily mitigate the damage in the early to mid turns, where, as I said, each point of damage matters. You can chip away at that life total, but crucially, that's Frostless Jaina in Gia's opening hand. That is the single most important card in the entire matchup, because if Gia has that early, it's easy for her to mitigate the damage that Slysssa can do.
Well, for Slysssa, if she gets her own hero card, it could be a battle between who can set up the damage versus the board. With Frostless Chain, a chain of water elementals, be able to dominate the board for Gia in the late stage of the game. Now, the matchup percentages show that it's still kind of close, but a little bit control priest favored. The higher ranks you accelerate up. But I do think that I'm curious to see how those new cards like the Witch Doctor influence that, because it helps you get the burn a little bit quicker.
Right, and Witch Doctor typically replaced a lot of the sort of situational tech type cards like Gluttonous Ooze, and there are a lot of potentially powerful tools that the Witch Doctor can pick up. Here, I kind of like just taking Unidentified Elixir. It gives you the ability to just make this 2/2 into a threat next turn. And if you get, say, the Elixir that brings it back to your hand, that's the 1/1 copy Elixir. A little bit less powerful, but as you're saying, every damage matters, and getting this 4/4, even 4/4 and a 1/1, that just helps you push and put pressure on the mage.
Yeah, these taunts all are very mediocre, but it's not like Mage usually gets their ability to pick very good taunt minions. It's very situational.
It's pray for Lich King.
It's pretty much just pray for like powerful minions,
or Ziliax,
like or something like that.
Yeah, but Slysssa, with this Elixir, does have the ability to make a 4/4, push into this Stonehill. And Gia did decide to take the Sleepy Dragon there. The rest of the minions are pretty mediocre, but that's just another expensive card in a hand of kind of expensive cards. Gia here, she has a Voodoo Doll, no way to ping it this turn. And Voodoo Doll is often pretty powerful at dealing with the big minions later in the game. But it is also, if she did just decide, well, I'm going to Voodoo Doll this, she could just play the Voodoo Doll now, because there's no silence effects that Slysssa has available. Oh, well, both players are going to have access to their heavy hitters here, as Anduin is picked up by Slysssa, and pretty quick pick of that powered shield.
Yeah.
If you're going to cast it right away, no reason to conceal it with the slow picking.
Yeah, I mean, Slyssa's been playing pretty fast.
Yeah.
All things considering. I think she roped on maybe 1 or 2 hard turns, but ever since that, a couple games ago where she was able to finally turn around the series, she's been kind of going pretty quick. And I wonder if that has to do with her mental state versus she's just so confident in this matchup that she knows exactly what to pick.
Well, it's interesting because this clears a deck that she is generally very comfortable with. It's been one that she's played a lot in both of these matches that we've seen on stream. And that definitely helps players in terms of their ability to make plays in a timely fashion. We did see Slysssa have a pretty big slip up with this deck though in one of the previous games. So I have to wonder if perhaps she's just trying to play by instinct rather than overthinking things.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this series had a lot of interesting decisions that players end up fumbling at the finish line that we're talking about. I mean, people were even talking, I saw people in chat talking about Gia even had that game in game number 4. She could have just set up like a 2-turn win, but instead just kind of threw it all away because she forgot what was in her spell pool in her deck. So, I think if you could just reset, go into game number 5, that's what's important. And in this matchup, it's pretty much to try to keep your life total as high as possible. And one of the valuable cards you talked about was Frosted Jaina, but it's also just being able to stack armor through things like the Arcane Artificer.
Yeah, and I actually kind of want to look a little bit about these couple previous turns from Gia here, because I mentioned, if you're going to use the Voodoo Doll, you can just play the Voodoo Doll on turn 4 rather than pinging off the 1/1 there. And she actually, if she had done that, she could have pinged and then played Doomsayer, which could have prevented this this setup from Slysssa as well. You know, and just maybe you don't have to cast the Dragon's Fury this turn. Maybe you can just play a Raven's Familiar. Maybe you can just set things up slightly differently. But Gia here does have the Artificer into Meteor if she wants to just take care of this Twilight Drake here, and that potentially sets up Blizzard plus Doomsayer into a future board, which maybe is a better use of the Doomsayer anyway.
Yeah, the thing about Blizzard Doomsayer is it tends to go directly into their Shadow Reaper Anduin turn, right. So then it's like, well, I'm not doing anything anyways. So, Gia could use Doomsayer for disruption to stop any more curve pressure, in the sense that Slysssa wants to play everything according to her mana curve. I mean, I honestly, without anything else, Doomsayer here still seems relatively okay to me.
It is okay. It does get killed by a Duskbreaker potentially, and that's a card that makes a lot of sense to just be sitting in your opponent's hand.
Yeah, and the ping also is okay to the face because you don't want to give them the ability to heal with the Northside Cleric or something else. But yeah, this does sting, but they weaken their own board just a little bit.
Right.
And I mean, if you want to meteor that thing down...
Yeah, there's a possibility of just the Artificer into Meteor here, which, this does potentially just get cleared up by Primordial Drake, or just your opponent sets up Shadow Reaper Anduin. But this is a game that's going to go the distance. Both players have lots of tools to keep themselves afloat, lots of tools to just answer back and forth to whatever threats the opponent might play. Interestingly, she's not going to choose to play the Artificer here. Perhaps wants to try to weave it in with a bigger spell. Maybe not into a board where her opponent could quite readily just play a Primordial Drake anyway.
Yeah, and sometimes we see the mages save it for burst healing to try and surprise the priest, like based off of information. True. So you can hold double Artificer and gain like 14 life, even if you're not flame striking anything. Right. You just gain 14 life, so that they're like, oh man, I thought I had like the next turn, but now I'm like 2-3 turns away.
Yeah, and in particular, if your opponent does have, say, Anduin, they Anduin, then they Alexstrasza you, and the ability to get that armor up in those crucial windows. It can be much more important. But speaking of important, that is the Jaina here for Gia, and she's going to start getting life-stealing elementals. And now Slysssa is going to have to navigate what can be a pretty complicated board.
Yeah, but here's the thing, too. You need minions in order to utilize the hero power. And so I've seen some priests just deny the water elementals by not playing a single minion for the rest of the game and hero powering until the mage gets down to range. Because we already have those 2 Mind Blasts. So now Slyssa's magic number is 16. And you still have a turn or two where you just need to get set up. So it's okay if your opponent goes back up to full life as long as you're controlling that armor count.
It is, Slysssa does already have those Mind Blasts, but frankly, she'd rather those Mind Blasts were in her deck and you get Shadow Visions for them. Because getting up to, like we saw last game, 4 Mind Blasts, it gives you just that much more reach, which could be pretty crucial.
That's fair. So Slysssa foregoing the Shadow Reaper Anduin instead, just drawing cards and dealing with the Water Elemental. I feel like this sets up the same situation, but a little bit weaker, because now you're hoping that she doesn't have AoE, but she's already revealed that she has Blizzard.
Well, I'm just going to get a couple of cards here. Oh, actually...
only 1 card.
Right, so Slysssa could have used her hero power on her minion first and then played the Divine Hymn. She actually cost herself 1 card there, thanks to that sequencing. And this is a matchup where your resources are crucially important. Every card matters when you're in a duel of these sort of controlling decks. Gia does have the ability to answer back with Blizzard plus Ping to make a Water Elemental and freeze that board as well. Yeah,
if you're going to go for the resource plan, then you should really commit to it, as opposed to losing out on a single card, that could be a difference maker. What if that was Alexstrasza? What if that's the actual card that you need for the following turn to set up lethal? Gia can now set up that Water Elemental. And it's kind of like what we're talking about. Back in a similar position, but now Slysssa has full 10 mana. Still would like to see you use Shadow Reaper Anduin in this position.
Well, drawing the Cleric is actually a little bit interesting, because she kind of wants to get card draw off the Cleric before she transforms into Anduin and no longer has that option. She just used her Divine Hymn, and she only, I believe, has 1 copy. So that does put her in a position where otherwise it's just a dead 1/3. So she picks up another card here.
Yep. Makes sense with the North Star Cleric draw to utilize it. And now Gia can strike back with another Blizzard Water Elemental setup.
Yeah. And you know the Blizzard also softens up the minions so that the Flame Strikes can be more useful to clear the full board next turn. And this is kind of the dance of the Priest versus the Mage. You need to pay attention to, okay, what are the flash points of the health totals that my opponent's minions, or rather my minions, need to have in order to avoid potentially giving my opponent Water Elementals. Gia is not good for the Water Elemental plan though. She's going to Stonehill Defender. Interesting. I believe that Drake is at... we'll find out in a second.
Which one? The Primordial Drake?
The Primordial Drake. It's life.
It should be at... eight.
I think it's at 6. Okay.
Right, because she healed up Dustbreaker.
Okay, so she's just going to Flame Strike here.
Job's done. I like the idea of setting up a Water Elemental train, but I think Gia might be looking for ways to stop minion damage besides simply relying on AoE and Water Elementals. Also, I want to call to attention a card that we haven't discussed, which is Gia has Mojo Master Zihi, which is, I think, supposed to buy her time in case Shadow Reaper Anduin's trying to set up big combo damage. I think this applies to a lot of other combo-related decks.
One of the really powerful things about Mojo Master Zihi in a controlling style mage deck, or really any Jaina mage deck, is that once you're Jaina and you set up Mojo Master, you get to play a game where you have a hero power that only really applies in long, high mana count games, and it's so much more powerful to make Water Elementals when your opponent's restricted to mana as well.
Yep.
Speaking of making Water Elementals, there's a Polymorph. But outside of that, Slysssa has her minions set up very well against Flame Strike or Blizzard potentially.
I'm still a little surprised Slyssa's been slow on the Shadow Reaper Anduin. I get that she wants to put up her minion pressure, but Anduin makes up for that damage that you would have gotten, and you're up against one of the best decks at just removal. They will just constantly remove or stall, and that's the name of the game.
Frankly, oftentimes against controlling mage decks, you get to a point where you don't even want to play minions anymore because you run the risk of them turning them into Water Elementals, and you're better off pinging them down as Anduin overturns and trying to prevent them ever having an opportunity to turn anything into Water Elemental in game life.
Yeah. It's better set up against, say, Alexstrasza, where you can use Alexstrasza aggressively, push down their life total, which makes sense in that position, but she doesn't have it in her hand yet. So until she draws that card, these minions are all, while they're deadly because there's 8 attack on the board, they're also a liability.
I must decide.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the Polymorph. Just want to get the Water Elemental train going.
Once more, kind of presenting the same situation. Able to Shadow Reaper Anduin here because it doesn't look like her other plays are that good.
I wonder if part of the reason that we haven't seen Slysssa pull the trigger on Shadow Reaper Anduin is that she may be afraid of Dragoncaller Alana because she currently doesn't have an answer.
That's fair.
She does have Psychic Screams in her deck, but she doesn't have anyone in her hand.
Okay.
So perhaps her thought process is, well, if I play my Shadow Reaper Anduin, I expose myself to Alana without an answer.
That's fair. That's very fair. And that's something that I wasn't thinking about. If she doesn't have Massive Stereo or Psychic Scream or anything to clear that, you can Thought Steal AoE.
Ooh, you can't Thought Steal Jaina, but you can Thought Steal.
Yeah, let's see what's in Gia's deck.
I think at this point, Gia's deck is primarily removal remaining. She has some of her big threats. She does have her Alana. She has a Lich King. She has a Syndragosa.
Yeah, the Syndragosa, the Lich King, like you said, is pretty powerful. I don't see anything else that's particularly very impactful. Like, you don't really care about Mojo Master Zihi. And then there's just, like, removal tools. Voodoo Doctor.
Just surrendered to madness.
Oh.
While we were not looking, she took Surrender to Madness and surrendered. Wow.
Wait.
Okay.
I mean, that's literally what the card is. You surrender to madness.
I'm pretty confused because there actually aren't that many more minions in Slyssa's deck.
The Mad Woman.
I mean, it is definitely what chat wants, is Surrender to Madness. At all times, if you have the option to Surrender to Madness, you should Surrender to Madness if you want to make yourself... Speaking of what chat wants to see, that's Hakar the Soul Flayer.
Yeah.
Hakar is a serious customer against an opponent who's looking to draw a lot of cards from their deck.
If it ends up becoming a war of attrition where it comes down to the last couple of cards, that extra damage can be the way the mage wins.
We see a little smirk dawning over Gia's face here as, okay, all right, well.
So, you know, if Gia can land that, which seems like she has the breathing room to do so.
Speaking of breathing, I'm like breathing heavily here. We have a car. Come down. Yeah. Surrender to madness into Hakar. One turn after another.
Casting intensifies, Killer.
Okay, I'll stop doing that.
Slysssa, she wants to shut down the water elemental train too, so killing that frozen champion is definitely of importance. And now Shadow Reaper comes out. Jiraxxus?
Okay, we're not going to see that one played.
You can't even play it because you're just going to die to a Mind Blast.
You just get Mind Blasted out if you Jiraxxus here. But
I don't get it. I don't even know what's even happening in this game.
I am so much more excited for this game than I was moments ago. It was already exciting.
It's been a while since I've heard the term Clown Fiesta used unironically. And this is exactly what this is. 410, by the way, very problematic without the Twilight Acolyte.
At 1-1, that's a water elemental.
Okay. But, you know, if Slysssa can pick up that Psychic Scream, she can start back from scratch, but she took a long time to get the Shadow Reaper Anduin in.
Even just she actually does not have the Mass Hysteria in her deck. Her only big removal spells are Psychic Screams. So this is an instance of also needing to again pay attention to what are the potential threats that I can lose to if you have Alana and I pull the trigger on a Psychic Scream. Say if she had one, then she's afraid of that Alana coming down. And we see that there's that Hakar who can come down if he isn't Psychic Screamed. Well, that could end very badly for either player. But Gia's the one who has life gain available. She has the water elementals coming off of Jaina. So if Hakar does come down and the players are getting corrupted, blooded to death, I'm actually a little bit curious about the cards in the players' decks. I believe that Slysssa has drawn more thanks to the Northshire Clerics. Gia hasn't really drawn any additional cards. So Slysssa is much more likely to hit the Corrupted Bloods first and start taking all that damage. But there's Surrender to Madness, 5-4 Pyromancer.
Yeah, except it kind of lines up badly with the immediate stats on the board because it sets up for another Water Elemental. This Power Word Shield, though...
Well, it still can get attacked into by the 410.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly why you want to use...
Ping itself, yes.
Okay, that's great. That's a great play. At least at first glance. I'm not sure if there's anything she's not considering. But you do want to stop them from getting that easy Water Elemental. I was also talking about, like, she was very close to using Dragon Maw Scorcher, but that's the Dragon Activator in case you picked up anything that needed the Dragon Synergy, and Twilight Acolyte is probably super important for exactly that combo.
So what's super important here is that at some point Gia plays this Hakar. I will be very sad if it never gets played. Jiraxxus, sure, you're Jaina. You don't want to play the Jiraxxus, but Hakar, now that's sweet.
I will be very pleasantly surprised if Surrender Madness ends up being the difference maker.
I didn't even think about
this.
It's a 4-6. So the swap actually doesn't do anything. It no longer works with Cabal because she surrendered to Madness.
That's so funny.
Her combo of Cabal plus Twilight Acolyte was self-nerfed. She surrendered to Madness. This game is in fact Madness now.
I didn't even realize that. I'm so used to it being 2 attack.
You're just like, yeah, okay, I'll swap, I'll steal. No, doesn't work. You're a priest and you give your opponent a 4-attack minion. Your worst nightmare.
Sorry, that is just too funny. And remember, she did it to herself. There's only one spell in the deck.
Yeah, and so that's a Psychic Scream.
What is happening in this game? All right. The hero power or something, and then just go.
Slysssa has, look at Slyssa's deck. It is incredibly small. She has so few cards remaining. I want to see Hakar. I want to see Corrupted Blood end this game. Psychic Scream, all those minions are back in the deck. I want the next thing that happens is Hakar comes to play. Do it.
I mean, I don't even think it's like the meme play. I think it's just
good.
Look how many cards remain. 6 cards remaining in Slyssa's deck. You're starting to get to that point where you create your own win condition. Oh, sorry. You create your own win condition just by doing nothing.
Everyone in chat, chant with me. Hakar, Hakar, Hakar. Let's do it. Come on.
All right, I'll type. Oh, I'm not logged in.
Oh, wow. Yes! She did it! I am so happy right now. Hakar, the Soul Flare, comes down. Slysssa with 2 Cabal Shadow Priests, but neither of them can steal anything because that is a buffed / nerfed Twilight Acolyte. The Soul Flare in the house. Chat, you did it. Everyone in chat, give yourself a round of applause. I believe it was our chant that worked. It was our chant that worked.
The Church of Brian Kibler, where apparently we just follow his instructions blindly. And I am his first disciple.
Well, by transitive property, you were a disciple of Shiro because I am a disciple of Shiro. And he is...
He is the deity
as
of
you were
which
saying,
we worship.
WSOE.
The high priest.
World Shiros of esports.
High priest Brian Kibler and his first mate. And by the way, this is like significant pressure too. You have to deal with this.
The funny thing is, this is a 9-6 now, so
which allows it to trade into the.
we can bump Hakar in.
Now Hakar can die.
Slysssa has so few cards in her deck. Get that corrupted blood in there.
Yeah, trading is absolutely the #1 thing I'm thinking about. And now when Slyssa's starting to hero power, you're starting to think, okay, well, clearly she's on some kind of aggressive plan. I don't mind, utilizing some ways to gain life as the game progresses. In the next couple turns, I want to see some kind of armor gain come out of here from Gia if she's afraid of dying.
No, don't polymorph. Get that corrupted blood in there. Do it. Aw.
Well, corrupted blood could just literally set up lethal in a few turns. Too.
Yeah.
Because it hurts after a while. You don't think about it much because he's got a few cards left. But I saw a game with Mr. Yagut where he sprinted after it and didn't realize what was happening and just died.
One key thing to note, by the way, Gia saw Slysssa cast that Shadow Visions, that there was only one result, and then she immediately cast Psychic Scream off the Shadow Visions. So that means she knows the contents of her hand include 2 Mind Blasts. So it's very important information for setting up. She knows that she can never have 3 Mind Blasts because there was never a Shadow Visions that could have gotten one before. So her maximum damage output is that 16 burst.
No Psychic Scream. I think Slysssa wants the board to be extended just a little bit further. But the thing is, she's not really gaining because Gia has a lifesteal minion on the board.
Right.
So, she's actually making negative ground right now. She's hoping that this time that she can let Gia extend onto the board, she can Psychic Scream a bigger threat.
I'm very sad Hakar's going to get Psychic Scream. We're not going to get Corrupted Bloods.
Look, all you want... You said, first of all, just to have it being played...
Well, I mean, then my chant for Gia to trade didn't work.
Yeah, I'm saying you forgot.
Well, actually, it was the problem with chat didn't chant with me. Come on, chat. You ruined everything.
Leave chat alone, okay? They have hard enough time making it out of rank 25.
Wow. Chat, I believe in you. I think you're at least rank 24.
I think this is a pretty scary board. I want a Psychic Scream. I want to start pushing damage. You have 2 Mind Blasts. I'm really scared of extending onto the board in any capacity by playing minions. The Dragon Ball Scorcher, though, is a pretty... I mean, I forget about the Surrender Madness every turn.
Yeah,
those are beefy minions.
It is a huge Dragon Ball Scorcher, as Admiral might say. But it is not big enough to take out anything here and to really compete for much. It is... it's big, but these are a bunch of even bigger minions. Yeah, we're going to see the Psychic Scream here. Sadly, Hakar goes right back into the deck. Let's see it drawn immediately. Chant with me, chat. Hakar, Hakar, Hakar. Oh, that's a pretty good one, too.
Good. 2 Psychic
It's a lot less fun way to end the game, but it is an army of dragons, and that is something that I can approve of as Dragon Collar Alana brings down a massive board for Gia. Slysssa has 1 remaining Psychic Scream in the deck. It is not drawn. She can pick apart a little bit of this board with hero powers and that Scale Worm she just picked up, but not going to be enough to stay in this one. She's not dead next turn, but she is in a world of hurt.
Oh,
it stays alive, but then it gets turned into a water elemental. The Slysssa is back! Hakar is back!
I can't cast this game anymore. What is happening? What happened to this game of Hearthstone? Is it even Hearthstone at this point?
It's Hakarstone. Yes, do it.
Is it even the right play? I don't even think so.
No, it's not, but it's the coolest play. All right, well, 15 to the face, another watermelon comes down. She plays the Skulking Geist before the Corrupted Bloods. Good sequencing.
Yes. And now Slyssa's on her final card. The Corrupted Bloods would do massive damage. Psychic Scream number 3.
All right, we can actually see the Hakar end it because she has to Psychic Scream this board. Okay, now we Hakar.
Now you're starting to get the Water Elemental is also really good because, I mean, as much as you would like to Hakar, you have to be very careful with your life total. And I think Gia recognizes that too. She's considering the armor.
Well, she's at 22 and she knows there's only 2 Mind Blasts even possible, right?
Right.
So
she should know at least.
Right. If she has been correctly tracking, she knows that there's only the possibility of 2 copies of Mind Blast available. So, but she is going to go up to 29 life here.
Yeah. I think the Raven Familiar here makes a little more sense than just the hero power.
Well, she should know literally every card because Raven Familiar walks into a potential Cabal Shadow Priest.
Hold on.
Well, so does the Artificer, frankly.
So a ping here means you set up a lethal in 2 turns because you have Jiraxxus for 3.
That's true. To do.
Because Slyssa's going to take fatigue damage. So if you ping 2 turns. Who thinks about that? Slyssa's not going to play around Jiraxxus lethal.
Oh, there's Alexstrasza.
Okay, that's potentially a very impactful draw. I forgot about the Alexstrasza as well. Because the reason why I say that it's useful is because you kind of anticipate this board dying anyway. Shadow Reaper Anduin's hero power is very easy to weave in.
Right.
Thoughts.
It's big Cabal.
Let me change your mind.
We're going to see Jiraxxus lethal. We're going to see it.
I think it has to be.
Yeah, this turn you can just Meteor or Blizzard and hit the face, ping the face.
Yeah, and even set up Doomsayer.
Oh yeah.
Okay, wireless.
Well, it's 1 fatigue this turn,
exactly.
2 fatigue next turn, so you literally have Jiraxxus exact lethal. It's a thing of beauty.
Unless she
Alexstrasza her own face, right?
She knows she needs to because she can't deal with this otherwise. So it has to be Alexstrasza to yourself.
And then we don't get to see the Jiraxxus lethal.
At least not yet.
Not yet, because we still have Meteor here. And Meteor will eliminate another gigantic minion. It will not create a water elemental. She'll actually have to trade in, but she can Meteor and then Doomsayer too.
Yeah, and I think just even from the body language alone, Slyssa's leaning back, recognizing that this is a bad situation that I don't think she can get pulled out of. Mage is getting a little bit too much life.
I mean, the thing is, she has no answer to. She has no real way to end the game. If she has to Alexstrasza herself, she has to just hope. Okay, well, you can't answer Alexstrasza, and then maybe Alexstrasza gets to hit you. But she's at 27, and Slyssa's just in fatigue.
Right. It's the armor count too.
Right.
It's at 20. It's not even you put your opponent down to 15. This is not alpha Alexstrasza that removed armor as well. Defensive. Alexstrasza comes in at 10-10, but Meteor still works the same.
That's the 3rd time we've seen that Sleeping Dragon in the same game. All right, well, Meteor here, going to take out Alexstrasza. The trade, I assume, coming in here.
Yeah.
And then we can see another Water Elemental or a Doomsayer. Doomsayer here just continues to sort of grind your opponent down to fatigue, but Water Elemental too, there's no way to kill it.
Yeah, I like this. There's nothing really that Slysssa can do about the Water Elemental. Her best play is just pretty much this dragon.
But this is a great opportunity to play Hakar. Your opponent has no cards.
I think we should Hakar, and if she's able to get the damage in with Hakar, she should just win the overkill bounty.
Well, if she got Hakar into play and then enough Corrupted Bloods, that's so much damage.
Oh, ruined. Ruined by Brian Kibler.
Sometimes you just gotta style play,
I agree.
I mean, I understand these players. We're having a lot of fun here, but these players are obviously playing for very high stakes.
This is
for a spot in the finals.
Extremely intense.
This is a very, very high stakes match.
Yeah.
And while Gia is in a commanding position, and we're like, oh, do this crazy play, she's trying to figure out how can I possibly lose. Right. I am in this incredibly strong position, but I don't want to somehow make a mistake and miss something and die. Yeah. So as much fun as we're having here up at the desk, these are very high stakes decisions that Gia's having to make each turn.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame Gia whatsoever for picking the very safe option, which is to gain life, be defensive. And at this point, I wonder if fatigue plays into to come into play, because this series has been going on for 2 hours now, and maybe she's not even keeping track of what every card is being played, so she's afraid of just playing a simple minion and then hoping that that's good enough. Mm-hmm. So this is perfectly reasonable, and pretty much Slysssa is out of options at this point. Alexstrasza's effect had no effect.
It did stop us from getting to have a Jiraxis lethal, but that's an effect. All right, well, there is Mind Blast remaining. Yep. Gia is going to play Lich King, and there's no way for Slysssa to stop it. If you can see Lich King into Doomsayer, so the Lich King itself dies, and then Jiraxis gets the final hit.
Yeah, but I'm not sure Slyssa's going to wait it out. She knows that next turn, no matter what she does, is guaranteed lethal because of the fatigue.
And yeah, Slysssa shoots herself.
She found lethal. Oh, okay, do it!
Jiraxis lethal, do it. Yes!
In the end, she's a caster. She knows what's happening.
The style points and the real points going to Gia here as she finishes off Slysssa in this game number 5 and advances to the finals in style.
That's right, and that is going to be our first finalist for the WSOE 2 Showdown.